The Snow Queen. The evil Snow Queen uses magic to separate two best friends. Now we're going to see if their love is more powerful than this magic. A Snow Queen story. Once upon a time, the devil made a mirror. Everything looked bad and ugly in this mirror. The beautiful flowers withered, and the beautiful girls looked ugly. The devil watched everything in the mirror, and it was fun to see different things. One day, he thought to himself, he asked, what would happen if I hold the mirror in front of God? So he went to the sky to see God in the mirror, but suddenly the mirror broke with a loud sound and broke into 1,000 pieces. Pieces of the mirror fell from the sky on the earth and the world of people, and each piece fell in a corner. Some pieces sank into the hearts of people. Those people could no longer see and understand beautiful things, and their hearts were empty of love and affection. On earth, in a small town, lived a boy named Kai and a girl named Greta. They were neighbors, and on the roof of the house, they had small gardens where they planted roses. They always played and drew together and were good friends. One day, Greta and Kai were reading a storybook and looking at her pictures. When the church tower clock struck 5 strikes, Kai raised his head and looked at the sky. He said, Greta, look, straight and bright particles are falling from the sky. He had not finished talking yet when he cried out in pain and said, sharp things sank into my heart and eyes. Greta said with concern, what happened? How are you? Kai, who seemed to have completely changed, rubbed his eyes and said coldly, how noisy you are. Shut up. And then he got up and plucked the roses that were planted together. Greta said, what are you doing? Kai replied, those roses are full of insects. And then he went to their house and closed the door tightly. From that day on, Kai stopped playing with Greta. A little later, winter came. One day, Kai was sledding alone when a beautiful woman in a white and magnificent cloak came to him. The woman laughed when she saw Kai. Kai tied his small sled to the woman's white sleigh, which was being pulled by a big horse. The horse ran so fast that they had left the city behind in the blink of an eye. The cloaked woman was the Snow Queen. Kai was very afraid of the speed of the horse, so that Snow Queen took him on her own sleigh. The Snow Queen and Kai flew into the sky on a sleigh. When Kai didn't come back, Greta became very worried and reached all over the city to find him, until one day he came to a man who had seen Kai. The man said, until one day she came to a man who had seen Kai. The man said, Kai left the city with a woman dressed in white riding a sleigh pulled by a big horse. Maybe he fell into the river on the way. Greta went to the river. She threw his shoes into the water and said, River, I'll give you these shoes. You return Kai to me. She threw his shoes into the river several times, but each time the shoes returned to her. So Greta got on a boat and at the river to take her to Kai. The current of water carried the boat on the old witch's palace. The witch kindly said, "What a beautiful girl. Why did you come here?" She pulled the boat to shore with her bent staff and helped Greta out of the boat. Greta explained the whole story and Kai's departure to the witch. The witch said, "The boy has gone to the north, but you are tired. You better rest at my house first." The old woman welcomed Greta with kindness and then combed her hair gently, but the comb was magical. The old woman was very lonely, and when she saw the circles, she thought to herself how good it would be if Greta stayed with him forever and they lived together. Therefore, she combed Greta's hair with a magic comb and bewitched her to forget Kai. And this way, Greta forgot everything and started a new life with the old woman. One day, Greta was playing in the garden among the roses when suddenly a razor stuck in her finger. She suddenly remembered everything and said, "This is the same road that Kai and I planted. I must go and find him." Greta ran away from the witch's house and headed north. In the middle of the road, the air got cold and the wind started blowing. The snowflakes came down one by one and sat on the ground, even though she was shivering from the cold. A crow was sitting on a tree and was croaking. So she asked the crow, "Mr. Crow, did you see Kai?" The crow said, "The princess had just married a boy who came from the south. He is now the prince of this land. He must be the boy you are talking about." Greta said, "Mr. Crow, please take me to the princess' palace." The crow said, "My friend has a nest in the palace's yard. We can get help from him." They went to the palace and Mrs. Crow's friend gave them to the princess's room. Greta knocked on the door and happily called Kai. The prince opened the door and said, "Who are you?" But he wasn't Kai. Greta was very disappointed and sad. Greta apologized to him and told the story to the prince and the princess, who kindly gave her a large golden sleigh with a beautiful horse, food and clothes to follow Kai. Greta thanked them and the crow a lot. The prince said to Greta, "I'm sure you'll find something to do. Take care of yourself." And Greta started again after saying goodbye to his kind friend. Greta's sleigh was moving quickly towards the north, until one day she reached the dark forest. When a sleigh driver was about to pass through the forest, a group of thieves attacked them. The thieves surrounded the sleigh with their swords and daggers. One of the thieves wanted to imprison Greta, but at the moment, the daughter of the chief of the thieves came forward and said, "Wait, this girl is mine. Let's go to my room." Greta, who was very scared, followed the girl. Greta was surprised when she saw the girl's room and said, "Wow, how many pigeons! What a beautiful ear!" The girl had hundreds of pigeons in her room, and she was friends with a reindeer. He who was happy with Greta's arrival made a barbecue for her on the fire and welcomed him with hospitality. As they sat by the fire, Greta told the story of her trip to her new friend. After hearing the story, the girl said, "What a sad story." One of the pigeons said that Kai must have gone to the northern land with the Snow Queen. The deer also said, "The palace of the Snow Queen is located on the north, and it is far from here." The daughter of the chief of the thieves told the reindeer, "Take Greta to the north." The deer ran to the north without stopping on the path. Whenever Greta was hungry, she would eat the food that the daughter of the chief of thieves gave her, because it was a long way to the north. After a while, Greta had nothing to eat, but she endured hunger and fatigue because she wanted to find Kai anyway. She went and went until she finally reached the north. The deer made Greta walk in the front of a hole. An old woman came out of the hut. The kind old woman welcomed Greta and the deer. After hearing Greta's story, she said, "The Snow Queen's palace is in Finland. I am gonna write a letter to my friend who lives there." When he reached Finland, gave her the letter and asked her for help. On this way, Greta got back on the deer and headed to Finland. When they got there, Greta gave the letter to her old friends. "Please give me strength to save Kai," the woman said. "With your love and courage, you have the power to save Kai. I can only show you the way to the ice palace." She rode a deer and moved toward the ice palace. She had reached the palace when suddenly a big snow monster appeared from the snow. He appeared, he let out a loud roar and attacked Greta. The Snow Queen's army had come to stop the hordes. She asked God to help her. It was very cold, and she could see her own breath coming out of the mouth. Suddenly, hundreds of angels came out to her warm breath. Small golden angels attacked the ice monster with their swords and protected Greta. The angel defeated the monsters and warmed the freezing Greta until she gradually got better and was able to continue on her way. Finally, Greta reached the palace of the Snow Queen. The palace shone like a diamond under the sunlight, but because it was made of snow and ice, it was very cold. She ran to him and said, "Kai!" But Kai, whose face was as cold and white as ice, did not answer. Greta cried, "Kai, what happened? How come you don't know me?" Hot tears fell on Kai's chest. A piece of mirror that was embedded in Kai's heart came out of his chest. Kai suddenly recognized Greta. "Greta," he said with tearful eyes. Another piece of mirror came out of his eyes with his tears. They both cried together, and with their tears, the ice palace started to melt. Greta said, "Kai, let's go back home." They were running away from the ice palace when suddenly the Snow Queen arrived and said, "Kai, I won't let you run away." Greta began to pray, "God, please help us." With Greta's prayers, the ice palace melted more and the Snow Queen surrendered. The Snow Queen sadly said goodbye and went safely to the sky and disappeared in the sunlight. Greta said to Kai, "Let's plant Rosa together again." They went home hand in hand, and their friendship started again.